Hi, everyone. I'm Keith Mathis. We are a premier ATP with the Project Management Institute. Welcome to 7 Minutes to PMP Mastery. Today's PMP exam tip is going to focus on lessons learned and knowledge transfer. So when we think about lessons learned, it's going to be a meeting where the team evaluates the knowledge learned throughout the project. And so that's not by accident when we say throughout the project. Sometimes people will mistakenly think that lessons learned is only conducted at the end of the project, and they collect all the ideas there. A lessons learned can run from the very beginning of the project all the way to the end. Key points about the lessons learned sessions with all the stakeholders attending. You're going to have root cause analysis of issues and successes that come up. You're going to look at knowledge transfer to the operations team or to the customer. And then organizational process asset updates would include actionable tips such as conducting a lessons learned session for your current and last project. So lessons learned and the word retrospective are really the same. Lessons learned is typically going to be used more on your traditional plan-driven project or waterfall project, and retrospective will typically be used more on your agile or scrum project. Here's your PMP tip. So if a question says, what should the project manager do first when capturing lessons learned? The correct answer is usually facilitate a lessons learned meeting or workshop and not immediately documenting them. And the reason for this is so that you can understand what is the steps that you would be going through. Let me show you what I'm talking about. So in this question, this would be a sample PMP type question. A project manager is closing a large IT implementation project. During the final project review, several team members mention issues that occurred during integration with a third-party vendor. Project manager wants to ensure future projects can benefit from this experience. What should the project manager do first? So it's not by accident that they're asking you first because they're looking for a sequence. A, document the issues and solutions in the lessons learned register and share them with the PMO. B, add the issue to the issue log for tracking in future projects. C, update the risk register with the vendor integration risk. Or D, conduct a lessons learned meeting with the project team and key stakeholders. So look at these answers and see if you can come up with the answer in your head, and look and see if you can throw some of these answers out that you think is not going to be part of what we're talking about right here. So here's what we're looking at when we look at the answer. So D was your right answer. Conduct a lessons learned meeting with the project team and key stakeholders. This is part of the closing process group, and the project manager would facilitate a lessons learned session or a retrospective, collect insights from the team and the stakeholders. And so it include a lot of different information such as what went well, what went wrong, any recommendations for future projects. And after the discussion, the insights are then documented in a lessons learned register, ultimately put into a repository and shared with the organizational process assets. So the first step here is to conduct the lessons learned meeting. Now, knowledge transfer. This is a newer term to the PMP test, and PMI has been hitting this relatively hard. So knowledge transfer is the process of sharing skills, experience, insights, and lessons learned from one person or team to another to improve project performance and organizational learning. In PMP terms, knowledge transfer ensures that valuable project knowledge is not lost when team members leave or when the project ends. The key PMP idea here is that knowledge gained during the project must be captured and made available for future projects. As you look, there's 4 ways knowledge is transferred. And so this is a strong emphasis as well. Mentoring, collaboration, lessons learned, and documentation. So you want to make sure you know there's 4 ways knowledge is typically transferred from one person to another. Now, there's 2 types of knowledge we want to talk about and make sure you catch. One is called explicit knowledge and one is called tacit knowledge. So explicit knowledge focuses on knowledge that is codified and has the ability to be written and documented. Taking a course would follow explicit knowledge. Looking at a PowerPoint like we're doing today, this is explicit knowledge I'm passing on to you in a PowerPoint method. Now, when I talk about what the test has, that's going to be more tacit because I'm telling you from experience of the thousands of people that we've taken through the PMP bootcamp what the test is typically like. So tacit knowledge is knowledge transferred from one person to another. It's hard to document because it's influenced by experience. And so that person is putting their spin on it based on their experience and their insights and knowledge about that particular topic. Now, the signal for transfer of knowledge, as you're reading a test question, something for you to keep up with is that if a question mentions expert leaving, somebody on the team is going to be leaving, unique experience of somebody on the team, or the team dependency on one person because they are the only person who knows how to do whatever that is, those are all signals about transfer of knowledge. PMI does not want a team to be so dependent upon a person that they can walk out the door with all those skills. And so they want those skills transferred to the rest of the team. And so that's a very big reason for transfer of knowledge. One other point before we move on. Transfer of knowledge in your test questions will also go from the team to the customer or to operations. Your team knows a lot about the project, and so part of transfer of knowledge and training, you will see some of that on your test as well, where you might have to spend some time training your counterpart over in operations or with the customer so that they understand all about the project, all of how to run the project once it's finished, and be able to use that software or use that tool that you're putting into place for them. So do not hesitate to think that that's not transfer of knowledge as well. It is. Now, we do virtual PMP boot camps every other month, and I'm the one who teaches them. And if I can help you in any way, please call me or send me an email. And don't hesitate to do that. I'll be glad to get back with you, and I get back with you really quick. But we'd love to see you in another boot camp if at all possible. Okay, so have a great day. See you.